Mushoku Tensei Episode 21, Rudy's Turning Point. The Dragon God has arrived. So go ahead and smash that thumbs up, the construction outside has delayed this. And by the way, did you see my reaction on Netflix? And a quick thank you to this week's sponsor, Galaxy Tales Story of Rapunzel. You got this 2D action platformer game that has launched in early access on Steam. You get to enjoy and experience the journey of Rapunzel and Rose. Go ahead and enjoy the casual and cute cartoon style graphics and directing. If you're looking for puzzles, some quick action, or just a unique story to learn Rapunzel's secrets, this is for you. You'll have fun with the like 10 hours of playtime on normal mode, and much more in the hard mode coming for the DLC. As you might have guessed, Rapunzel's hair is such an important factor in the game, especially when trying to solve the various puzzles or getting on stages. You gotta completely master her hair to deal with the bosses. For the upcoming DLC, you got new episodes, new modes, and costumes. So if you love what you're hearing, go ahead and add the game to your Steam wishlist. Galaxy Tales Story of Rapunzel is scheduled to officially be released in early 2022, and it is planned to launch on Nintendo Switch too. And as always, you are being awesome by supporting the channel. Getting this episode kicked off with that ominous intro. So lovely to see Rudy reflecting on all of this. The anime did happen to skip Rudy's lines towards the end, that Rudy would have come to understand this phenomenon known as death. This robbing those close to him. The light novel conclusion for this was slightly different. Naturally, Rudy reflected on being filled with regret, that perhaps they should have taken a detour. But most important, that Eris never failed to impress Rudy. So going back in time before the main dish, first off you do have the anime skipping some bandit meetup. You won't at all be surprised that around these areas there were some people that wanted a quick and easy lunch. In response, Eris wanted to be the one doing the slicing. Richard also wanted to liquefy them. But are these guys getting soft? It turns out these guys just wanted food, so they let them go. Next up, let's get into some world building for this episode. You got the Red Weir Mountains, that's this huge mountain range stretching across the central continent. It's split into 3 distinct parts, and it's just infested with those red dragons. Red Wyrms are supposedly the strongest monster on the central continent. Taking a look at the Mushoku anime's opening this time, you got quite a number of new anime-only scenes, like Rudy healing up their emergency food. The Mushoku light novel also didn't bring up any rest stops for them before their meeting with that Blizzard dude. Not that I mind, please keep on doing the opening showcasing for areas. Somewhere during this, Rudy had a moment to reflect on the man god, that more or less things went a certain way for Rudy no matter what Rudy did. It really did feel like the man god was taking careful consideration into the advice given. Rudy thought he could trust him, although it's not exactly like he could understand his motives. Next up, Eris versus Richard. Oh yes, Eris has grown up so much. It actually was surprising Rudy to some extent. He thought that just a year ago, he was able to beat her using the Demon Eye. But now, that would have been impossible. Perhaps if Rudy used his Demon Eye and used all of his mana, he might be able to snatch a win right there. Either way, it would just be way too close. Rudy did think he could win if they started the battle from afar. You know, him having the advantage. But Rudy did realize, if he were so far away, he wouldn't be able to have any physical contact. So could you really call that a victory? Rudy just couldn't match up. It really just went back to the amount of effort Eris put in. Rudy's body couldn't keep up, his stamina was really just average for Japanese standards. For the Mushoku Isekai world, that meant ultra low. As for Eris wiping herself down, she used to be a-okay to just stripping down, but you know who got turned on by that. Now Eris is pretty inconvenienced when trying to get herself clean, or at least wipe off the sweat. At the very least, Rudy did apologize mentally. For lovely anime attention to detail, do notice Eris wearing that gift from Ghislaine. Then for an anime cut, you did have a quick discussion between Rudy and Richard. Rudy was really just wondering why Richard told that to Eris, about her now being an adult. Very interestingly, Richard said this, that no matter how much time had passed by, that Rudy kept on treating her like a child. You then saw Rudy think about this for a bit, that Eris had grown so much she was no longer going into fights without thinking about the consequences. Although her wild instincts weren't completely gone, that the frequency of her bursting out, all that had decreased. Rudy didn't see her as an adult, but right now in the process of becoming from child to adult. In other words, a teenager. For something a little different, Rudy thought this. Could this have been a death flag? That this is one of those awfully familiar scenarios that happens on TV or stories right before a character gets killed off. Or you know, they run into this dragon god. In response to this, the anime cut out the following scene, which was Rudy giving Richard this golden coin, that it was supposedly this good luck charm. Anyway, let's get into a time update. Can you believe it? 4 months have actually passed by since they left the previous kingdom. In the anime, that's gone by in the blink of an eye. One of the things I really liked about this episode was seeing those red dragons. You got scraps in the anime, but here's the full lore breakdown. That one of their specialties was their detection ability. So not Spidey sense, but dragon sense. That they would never miss anything going into their territory, even something as small as a dog. Once that happened, all of these dragons would swarm together and start just devouring it. Goodbye. So these are like giant piranha with wings. Rudy went on to expand about the dragons in this world, that there's quite a few number of species, and each single one was at least A rank or higher. Among them, the red variety were the most fiercest and dangerous. One of them was a low S rank, but it didn't matter because they always came in groups. It's like that swarm of Pokemon. You now look at this mountain range that is home to these creatures. It's known for being impassable and really just being the symbol of death. Keep away. But you might be wondering, they must have a weakness. While they are excellent, they are terrible flyers, that they can't take off and fly off from a flat terrain. So if they actually get on a flat surface, they're gonna be staying there. This is why it's pretty rare for those living in the plain to be attacked by one of these red dragons. Every so often, you do have the situation when one of them does get grounded, whether it's by wind or just by mistake, and then these things just start terrorizing and destroying the human village. When that happens, you now call the guild, time to send off the adventurers, that these requests are S-ranked, which usually means having parties of about 10 people forming to go take it out. Oh, and these things are worth it. Dragon meat and the bones are top quality material to make armor, even their skin is highly valued as a work of art. They're using all the parts. Get this, the prize money from taking one of these out is so great that even with 10 people, it'll still give you enough money to live lavishly for a year. Specifically, one dragon is worth about 100 gold pieces. This goes back to it being common knowledge. You sometimes have newbies that want to go take it out just for the money, but then they end up getting barbecued. How strong is a dragon? Apparently Ghislaine has actually slayed one before. That she battled one before she actually became a sword saint. At the time, there were actually 5 other advanced tier swordsmen with her. From 5 people trying to take out a dragon, 2 of them died. So was it worth it? I guess it means just less people to split the profits. The real issue with these guys is them being able to fly plus swarming in the hundreds. There really is no way you could pick one off by itself. In the anime you did hear this being brought up, who could actually beat a dragon? Ruijerd mentioned that he doesn't stand a chance versus a horde of them, but if someone could do it, it might be one of the 7 great powers, that even the North God or the Sword God would have to back away. And it's not due to what you might think. The real main issue is that they're gonna run out of fuel. There's just too many. You're eventually gonna have to sleep. An interesting little tidbit for Laplands actually got dropped here, that Laplands has subjugated the King of the Red Wyrm. So anyone ranked at the top of the 7 great powers should be able to pass through here without issues, even the god in last place. Talking about the various gods, the anime decided at this moment to throw in some info about them. Oh, what do you know, just before running into the fella. So let's welcome the dragon god Orsted and Nanahoshi. Damn, that anime Blizzard obscuring things. He really has more fuzz going on. Nanahoshi's mask design in the anime did catch my eye. It's much more detailed close up, looks like this one does have a nose. Even the anime dragon god got a glow up for his face. You wouldn't want to run into this guy in the wild. Fun fact for the dragon god Orsted, you may recognize his voice actor. He's that teacher from Jujutsu Kaisen, Hannes from Attack on Titan, Overhaul from My Hero Academia, that slime demon general from Konosuba, and Kaiba. Screw the rules, I am the dragon. Talk about perfect casting. Rudy in particular thought that mask was similar to the one from his world, that it stood out so freaking much. And here's something else that you may not have noticed, because I definitely didn't, that it shouldn't be hard to recall someone with pure black hair, except he couldn't do it. For a fun new anime scene, you do have that Big Mac factory noping out of there. Get away from that dragon god. For a different anime change, you do have anime Eris that's now frozen still, compared to the light novel where she was completely shaking and trembling. Likewise for anime Ruijerd, he's now completely frozen too, compared to light novel Ruijerd that was about to go Aquaman on his ass. For something that the anime skipped for Orsted, he knew much more than their names. Oh, Ruijerd, you love Kit so much. These two must be the ones that got teleported over to the demon continent during the incident. I see you brought them all the way here. So what was that crap about not knowing anything about the displacement incident? Here's another interesting line cut from Orsted, that you'll know who I am eventually. Speaking of which, in case you were wondering why Rudy's dumbass spoke out, internally Rudy felt that this dragon god knew something, that the vibe he got from him was the same one that he got from the man god. That's why Rudy so desperately wanted to find out. For something you should notice, you did have Rudy here being able to look him in the eye, while the other two did not. The anime did explain this a little bit later, that Orsted is cursed, which is why Ruijerd and Eris instantly hated him. The Dragon God here noticed and pointed out that it didn't apply to this little boy, which got him curious. So that means you don't feel any fear. That's strange. I have no memory of meeting you. You could wonder what that implies. For a split second, you did have Rudy seeing himself getting penetrated by the Dragon God. Who wouldn't feel honored by that? Anyway, getting into it, the Ruijerd fight, the 10-second dance. In the anime, Ruijerd at least tried. For the hits taken, there's one to the shoulder, one to the abs, a stab punch to the stomach, a sucker punch to the jaw, then a finishing blow to the coconut. Really, Ruijerd knocked out with the last 3 main hits. Keep in mind, this is Ruijerd. This is how he stacks up. He's a super demon with over 500 years of battle experience. Rudy thought that would practically make him invincible. That Ruijerd should be stronger than a king tier swordsman. The Dragon God Orsted, on the other hand, supposedly this guy wasn't faster than Ruijerd. On the other hand, Orsted's skills just overwhelmed and surpassed Ruijerd's. It turns out he could have killed Ruijerd if he wanted to, but he let him live. That Orsted was holding back. Anyway, switching over to Eris, he actually got the name of that move that would make Aizen proud. The secret technique Flow. It's almost as if she got hit by a Saint ultimate technique. Specifically, this was a Water God style technique. Rudy had previously seen it from his papa. Anyway, for the third meal, Orsted versus Rudy. It was just a bloodbath. Rudy even felt the pressure of another attack from behind. The damage just mounted. So yes, his lungs were crushed. The anime skipped the Dragon God's line about it being best to collapse the magician's lungs. After all, they wouldn't be able to chant a spell. For Rudy, that specifically meant him not being able to use healing magic. Recall that for Rudy, healing is one of the ones he still needs to use chants. Next up, an anime knee scene. You had Eris desperately trying to roast that Dragon God Buddy. In the light novel, she was out. As for Rudy's last desperate attack, you might be wondering, why the stone cannon? Why not advanced magic? Rudy really just felt it was the magic he was most familiar with. Rudy made it super hard, he made it the fastest speed possible, and with the quickest spin. For a very noticeable anime change, you had anime Rudy scratching this dragon dude, which is much more impressive. Originally it was almost like nothing. Cut from the Dragon God was him enjoying his meal a little bit more. Apparently he liked seeing Rudy suffer. But really crippling Rudy, you saw him use that disturbed magic. That this was interfering with the mana in his hand and then disrupting it, which practically sealed his magic. As for Rudy's other desperate move using that fire magic, Rudy in his mind did picture this enormous flame, pretty much a nuclear explosion. At this point, Rudy didn't even account that Eris and Ruijerd might be caught in the blast. I mean, the dude was dying. I do very much like the anime detail, seeing the ice melting away from above. Unfortunately, it didn't matter. You saw the Dragon God bust out that ultra special technique. The light novel mentioned that the size couldn't contain it, leading to him thinking, oh, he must be on the same level as Laplands. After all, Rudy must be the man god's apostle. The anime then skipped Rudy's last-ditch effort. He actually tried to use that roar he learned from the Beast Village. Not that it would do anything at this point. Over on the Dragon God side, you did have this guy taking inspiration from Ukiura. You had the line skip that, oh, man god, you're now using pawns that can't coat themselves in a battle aura. I'm pretty sure the anime hasn't delved into this at all. As for Nanahoshi, the anime cut off her last suggestion. Wouldn't it be better to let him live? Switching over to a very pleasant individual. First off, you heard them talking about this cursed child. If you did miss it, definitely check out the last video where I went in depth on this. The light novel Human God expanded on this. Oh, you don't have them in your world. Someone who was born possessing this unusual power thanks to this abnormality triggered by mana. I mean, come on, we don't have mana here. Anyway, according to the man god about Orsted, that he must have been born that way. He's this evil being who was trying to destroy the world. At this, Rudy felt that he could sympathize and relate to that. That someone that was constantly surrounded by people that hated them, you know, due to the curse, it was no surprise they wanted to destroy the world. I mean, think back to Rudy's original life. That he trolled on the internet wishing something similar. Time to perish. The anime then did skip Rudy asking if the man god is affected by those curses. Is the fact that he can't see him due to those curses. So there's a curse that he's hated, there's a curse that the man god can't see him, but what else? The man god simply said he didn't know. For something else juicy, you did have that line about Laplands and Ruijerd. Originally, Laplands had this curse of fear on him. Laplands then transferred it over to the spear, and then passed it down to Ruijerd and his tribe. That Laplands made their green hair the key to that effectiveness. And yes, I am working on a video related to this. I may make for sometime this week. Do hit the like if you're hyped for that. Sticking with that interesting green hair topic, Rudy recalled how Sylphie was bullied because of her hair, but he didn't feel she was feared. So what was it about the hair? Is it because it's the source of their mana? I do mention this because it feels a little random, but Mushoku Tensei throws in stuff for a reason. But back to the Dragon God, let me just clarify, he is the strongest in this world, even if he's restricted by all the curses. How strong is the Dragon God? He's like the Mew and Mewtwo for Isekai. That Orsted could use all the skills and techniques that currently exist in this world. On top of that, he could also use his own unique magic that's specific to the Dragon God. The only blessing to this is that he can't unleash his real power thanks to a curse. So that's at least 3 so far that we know of. So welcome back, Rudy lives! You could thank Nanahoshi for that one. By the way, fun fact for Nanahoshi, I checked the credits and look at this, they are actually hiding her voice actress, just 3 question marks. Fun fact number 2, Nanahoshi means 7 stars. So yes, the Dragon God did fully heal Rudy. He must have used advanced magic or something much more powerful. This just made Rudy realize that what the man god was saying must have been true. Orsted really can use any skill or technique in this world. Getting into a Rudy moment the anime skipped. This is when he was hugging Eris. According to him, since he just faced death, at times like this people wanted to leave behind their offspring. That there was no doubt he felt unusually energetic since he woke up. I've been thinking about this for a while, and let me know if you think this too. How it's really weird and different how anime Rudy comes off, and to some extent the whole Mushoku story. It feels like there's multiple versions of Mushoku Tensei. The light novel version, the anime version with all the skipped content, the manga version that does its own thing, and the web novel too that either has additional or differences from the light novel. Then for an anime Eris cut. In the anime you just saw her crying away, then fading to black. Originally, Eris pulled Rudy towards her and then wrapped her arms tightly around his head. Naturally, this something soft was something that Rudy enjoyed. "Thank God," she whispered, this ending the chapter. Come on, anime, why are you skipping this? So, how much did you love this episode? Best Mushoku episode yet? Or was something missing? For me, huge props to Eris's voice actress. Her scream took this to the next level. And I quickly mentioned at the beginning, I recently did the Netflix collab, reacting to new anime. Go ahead and show them some love, maybe I'll be back there in the future. Go ahead and check out last week's Mushoku video, or just say hi. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so YouTube actually sends you the next video this week. And I'll see you guys later.